Hello, dear aspirants. I am Pratiksha Chauhan, your educator and mentor on Arpita Sharma classes, the platform where you get quality lectures for UPSC CST preparation for free. We are going to start Environment and Ecology crash course. Before we start, here is a small announcement for you which is going to change the way you prepare for UPSC. Do you have a long-term vision to achieve success? Unacademy brings you new batches starting on 14th April 2021 to aid your exam preparation and help you with your journey. Use referral code ARPITA10 and get 10% off. Subscribe now. Click on the link below to subscribe. Here is the list of the batches that we are launching on Academy Plus for you. Crack UPSC CST prelims through 3500 MCQs 14th April. Mission Victory Batch for UPSC 2022 14th April. 1 year batch for 2022 14th April. 2 year batch for 2023 attempt 14th April. Strength your basics of NCERT's bilingual batch 14th April. Strength your basics of NCERT's English 14th April. Top Unacademy educator will cover the important concepts for UPSC CST prelims, and these courses will be helpful for aspirants preparing for UPSC CST exams. UPSC CST aspirants at any stage of their preparation will be benefited from these courses. The courses will be covered in bilingual Hindi and English. Do not miss this opportunity. Enroll now. Today we will discuss about smog, acid rain and ozone depletion. We will understand its concept and solve some of the questions related to it. Let us start with this lecture. First of all, we will understand what is smog. It is the term first used in 1905 by Dr. H.A. Des Vaux. Smog is a combination of two words, smoke plus fog, that is smoky fog, which are caused by burning of large amount of coal, vehicular emission and industrial fumes. These are primary pollutants. And smoke contain soot particles. Soot particles are like smoke, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide and other components. So at least two distinct types of smogs are sulfur smog and photochemical smog. Now we will discuss about primary and secondary pollutant. Primary pollutant, which are air pollutant emitted directly from a given source, and secondary pollutant, which are not directly emitted as such but form when other pollutant like primary pollutant react in the atmosphere. Examples of secondary pollutant like include ozone, which is formed when hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides combine in presence of sunlight, and nitrogen oxides combine with oxygen in the air. Acid rain, which is formed when sulfur dioxide or nitrogen oxides react with water. Now we will discuss about types of formation of smog. First is sulfurous smog, which is also known as London smog, which is first formed in London. Sulfur smog has a high concentration of sulfur oxides in the air and caused by use of sulfur bearing fossil fuel and particularly coal. And coal has the main source of power in London during 19th century. So the effects of coal burning were observed in the early 20th century. So sulfurous smog is aggravated by dampness and a high concentration of suspended particulate matter in the atmosphere. Now next is photochemical smog. It is also known as Los Angeles smog. So photochemical smog is a term used to describe air pollution that is a result of the interaction of sunlight with certain chemicals in the atmosphere. One of the primary component of photochemical smog is ozone, which is formed from nitrogen dioxide plus sunlight plus hydrocarbon is equals to ozone. While ozone in the stratosphere protects Earth from harmful UV radiation, ozone on the ground is hazardous to human health. Ground level ozone is formed when vehicle emissions containing nitrogen oxides primarily from vehicle exhaust and volatile organic compounds from paints, solvents, printing inks, petroleum products, vehicles, etc. interact in the presence of sunlight. Smog refers to hazy air that causes difficult breathing conditions. It is a combination of various gases with water vapor and dust. Its occurrences are often linked to heavy traffic, high temperature and calm winds. During the winter, wind speeds are low and cause the smog and fog to stagnate near the ground. Hence, pollution level can increase near ground level. Smoke particles trapped in the fog gives it a yellow or black color, and this smog often settle over cities for many days. So ground level ozone is formed through a complex reaction involving hydrocarbons, nitrogen oxides and sunlight. It is formed when pollutant released from gasoline, diesel powered vehicles and oil based solvents react with heat and sunlight. Now we will discuss about the effects of smoke. Hampers visibility and harms the environment. Respiratory problems it creates. Death relating bronchial diseases. Heavy smog greatly decreases ultraviolet radiations. Heavy smog releases in the decrease of natural vitamin D production, which leads to the rise in the case of rickets. Now, what is the news related with smog? That is a smog tower in Delhi. Why news? A smog tower which is being planned for the national capital region, that is Delhi, which create a clean air zone in the region. The smog tower is one of the devices that control air pollution in Delhi. It expected to reduce particulate matter by 50% in the area, and filters is being installed uses carbon nanofibers as a major component, and propose a smog tower which is focused only on reducing particulate matter load at present and majorly help to reduce the severity of air pollution in NCR Delhi. Now, what is a smog tower? A smog tower is a structure designed to work as a large scale air purifier fitted with multiple layers of filter which trap fine dust particles suspended in the air as it passes through them. Air is drawn through fans installed at the top of the tower, passed through filters and then released near the ground. The large scale filter expected to be installed in the towers in Delhi would use carbon nanofibers as major component. It will be fitted along the peripheries of the tower and the height will be 20 meters. Okay, so in an open field in calm weather, it can reduce the particulate matter of 10 micrometer, that is PM10, up to 45% and PM 2.5 level up to 25% in an area of 20 meters around the tower, as per the details of the ENS Clean Air website. Now there is a question from UPSC 2013. Photochemical smog is a resultant of the reaction smog. Options are NO2, O3 and peroxycetyl nitrate in the presence of sunlight, CO, O2 and peroxycetyl nitrate in the presence of sunlight, CO, CO2 and NO2 at low temperature, high concentration of NO2, O3 and CO in the evening. Please answer this question. Answer is A. NO2, O3 and peroxycetyl nitrate in the presence of sunlight. Photochemical smog is the chemical reaction of sunlight, nitrogen oxide and volatile organic compounds in the atmosphere which leave airborne particles and ground level ozone. Now we will discuss about the acid rain. It refers that any precipitation, that is rain, whether it is fog, mist, snow, that is more acidic than normal, that is pH is less than 5.6 and pH below 7 is acidic. So acidic rain is caused by atmospheric pollution from acidic gases. Acidic gases like sulfur dioxide and oxides of nitrogen emitted from burning of fossil fuels. So it can be recognized that acidic smog, fog, mist move out of the atmosphere is settled on dust particles, which in turn accumulate on vegetation as acid depositions when rainfall falls. So the acid from these depositions leak and form acid dews. Now we will discuss about the pH scales. There are different types of pH scales. So it can be measure of how acidic or basic, that is alkaline, a solution is. It ranges from 0 to 14. A pH of 7 is neutral, and pH less than 7 is acidic, and pH greater than 7 is basic. So it is based on hydrogen ion concentration, that is aqueous solution. So pH value decreases as hydrogen ion level increase. So solution with pH 4 is 10 times more acidic than pH 5 and 100 times more acidic than pH 6. So pH range is usually given between 0 to 14. Lower and higher values are theoretically possible. Now we will discuss about the gases that cause acid rain. Acidic gases and with what are the sources. First acidic gas is sulfur oxide, which is sources fossil fuel burning, power plants, smelting of metal sulfide ores, industrial sources, industrial production of sulfuric acid in meteorological, and chemical and fertilizer industry, volcanoes, seas and oceans, decomposition of organic matter. So they have their health effects also. Eye and throat irritation, cough and allergies, impairs enzyme function in respiratory system, reduce exchange of gases from lung surface. Next is nitrogen oxides. What are the sources? That is fossil fuel burning, lightning, biomass burning, forest fires, oceans, power plants. So NO and N2O are mentioned in NOIS environment. This is the book, you can see it. Okay, now we will discuss about the types of acid deposition. As sunlight increases the rate of the most of the sulfur oxides and nitrogen oxide reaction, this results in a mild solution of sulfuric acid and nitric acid. Acid rain is a broad term which is used to describe in a several ways that acids fall out of the atmosphere. A more precise term is acid deposition, which has two parts, wet and dry. Wet deposition, which refers to the acidic rain, fog and snow. As this acidic water flows over and through the ground, it affects a variety of plants and animals. The strength of the effects depend on many factors, which include the acidity of the water, chemistry and buffering capacity of the soils involved, types of fish, trees and other living things that rely on the water. Now come the dry deposition. It refers to the acidic gases and particles. About half of the acidity in the atmosphere falls back to earth through dry deposition. Acidic particles and gases are blown by the wind onto buildings, cars, homes and trees. Dry deposited gases and particles can also be washed from trees and other surfaces by rainstorms. When that happens, the run of water adds those acids to the acid rain, making the combination more acidic than the falling rain alone. Now we will discuss about the formation of acid rain. There are 6 basic steps which involve the formation of acid rain. As the atmosphere receives oxides of sulfur and nitrogen from natural and human-made sources, so some of these oxides fall back directly to the ground as dry deposition, either close to the place of origin or some distance away. Okay, there are some like distance, they have keeping us some distance, and sunlight stimulates the formation of photooxidants. Photooxidants like ozone in the atmosphere. So these photooxidants interact with oxides of sulfur and nitrogen and other gases like NH3 to produce sulfuric acid and nitric acid by oxidation. So acid rain contains ions of sulfate, nitrate, ammonium and hydrogen which fall as a wet deposition. Now you can see that how the formation of the acid rain in this diagram. Emission source you can see, dry deposition of gases and particles and aerosols, and how the ammonia is releasing, and dry deposition, wet deposition of dissolved acids, and what are the sources, receptors and anthropogenic sources. Okay, that is dry deposition and wet deposition is also here. So gaseous pollutant in the atmosphere, particulate pollutants in the atmosphere, pollutants in cloud water and precipitates. Now we will discuss about the harmful effects of acid rain. As acid precipitation affect both aquatic and terrestrial organisms. It also damages building and monuments. How it affects on human? Bad smell, visibility reduction, skin irritations, eyes and respiratory tract. So some direct effect include chronic bronchitis, pulmonary ischemia and cancer. Effect on soil. The exchange between hydrogen ions and nutrients like potassium, magnesium in the soil, which cause leaching of the nutrients and making the soil infertile. And increase in ammonia in the soil, which decrease in other nutrients, decrease in the rate of decomposition. So the nitrate level of the soil is found to decrease. So the impact of acid rain on soil is less in India because Indian soils are mostly alkaline with good buffering ability. Now comes the effect on aquatic life. Egg and sperms of fish, frogs and other aquatic organisms which are sensitive to pH changes. Acid rain kills their gametes, affecting the life cycles and productivity, that is creating ecosystem imbalances. So acidic lakes water kill microbes and turns the into unproductive. So it make metals bound on soils which is to be released into the aquatic environment. Effect on terrestrial life is damaged cuticle of plant leaves and reduces photosynthesis. So acidic medium promotes leaching of heavy metals, example like aluminum, lead, mercury. So these metals which percolate into ground water and affect soil microflora and fauna also. So other indirect effects of acid rain also affects wildlife, which are a loss or alteration of food and habitat resources. Effects on buildings, monuments and materials, like many historical and old buildings you have seen, like works of art and textile etc., which are adversely affected by acid rain. Limestone and marble are destroyed by acid rain. Smoke and soot cover such objects. They slowly dissolve or flake away from the surface because of acid fumes in the air. So many buildings or monuments like Taj Mahal in Agra is suffering from acid rain. So that is marble cancer, it is also known. Question can be asked in prelims, that is what is marble cancer. You can write that any building or monument which is suffering from acid rain. Okay, so next is effect on microorganism which determines pH level, that is proliferation of a microbial species, which optimum pH of most bacteria and protozoa which is neutral. So most fungi refer an acidic environment. So blue green bacteria refers an alkaline environment. Microbial species in the soil and water shift from bacteria bound to fungi bound, which causes a delay in the decomposition of soil organic material. Now, what are the areas of acid rain which are concentrated in the industrialized belt of the northern hemisphere, like Scandinavia, Canada, northeast United States and northwestern Europe? So what are the areas in India? The first report of acid rain in Bombay in 1974. So instances of acid rain are more reported in metropolitan cities. So lowering of soil pH is reported from northeastern India, coastal Karnataka and Kerala, and parts of Odisha, West Bengal and Bihar. Now how to control acid rain? Low sulfur fuel, natural gas or washed coal using, which is chemical washing of pulverized coal in thermal plants, which reduces incidence of acid rain. What is buffering? The practice of adding a neutralizing agent to the acidified water to increase the pH level, means adding some neutral agent to acidic water which is increasing the pH level of the water. So usually lime in the form of calcium oxide and calcium carbonate is used in the method of buffering. Now the question comes from UPSC 2013. Acid rain is caused by the pollution of the environment by. Options are carbon dioxide and nitrogen, carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, ozone and carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide and sulfur dioxide. Please answer this question. Answer is D. Nitrous oxide, which is laughing gas, and sulfur dioxide. CO and CO2 react with rainwater to form weak carbonic acid, which is rainwater is naturally slightly acidic, but this is not enough to call it acid rain. Acid rain must have pH of less than 5.6. Even increased concentration of CO and CO2 is not enough to cause rainwater. pH less than 5.6 is must for acid rain. Now we will discuss about the ozone depletion. It is a destruction of a stratospheric zone by free radicals like chlorine, bromine when they reach the upper atmosphere. So the UV radiation breaks down into the chlorine molecules into chlorine atoms. These chlorine atoms combine with oxygen atoms broken from ozone molecules to form chlorine molecules. So leaving fewer atoms of oxygen atoms to form ozone again. So this process reduces the number of ozone molecules in the stratosphere, resulting in the depletion of the ozone layer. If depletion is concentrated at one place, for example at the poles, it forms a hole in the ozone layer, often referred to as a ozone hole. So the best example for ozone depletion is the atmosphere over the Antarctic, which is only about 50% of the ozone that are originally occurred there. So the actual realization of ozone depletion came in only in 1985. Now, what are the ozone depleting substances? These are man-made gases that destroy ozone once the gases reach the ozone layer. So, these substances include chlorofluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons, hydrobromofluorocarbons, halogens, which is used in fire extinguisher, you can see. Methyl bromide, such as fumigant. Fumigation is a method of pest control by suffocating pests with poison. Carbon tetrachloride, which is used in fire extinguishers, refrigerator as a cleaning agent. Methyl chlorofluorine, which is a solvent for organic compounds used for cleaning metal parts and circuit boards. Where these are used? Refrigerators in commercial, home, vehicle air conditioner and refrigerators. Okay. Foam blowing agents, component in electrical equipment, industrial solvents for cleaning including dry cleaning, aerosol spray pollutants, fumigants. Now first come the chlorofluorocarbon. These are widely used as a refrigerant until 1980s. These are considered as greenhouse gases that causes climate change. So CFC is still left in other or older industrial area conditioning and refrigeration system. They are used as a refrigerant, propellants in aerosol sprays, foaming agents in plastic manufacturing, fire extinguishing agents, solvents for cleaning electronic and metallic components, for freezing food, etc. So 2/3 of chlorofluorocarbon is used as a refrigerant, while 1/3 is used as a blowing agent in foam insulation products. So chlorofluorocarbon has a wide and varied application due to its properties like non-carcinogenic, non-inflammability, low toxicity and chemical stability, etc. And next is hydrochlorofluorocarbon. It is used as a substitute of chlorofluorocarbon. It causes less damage to the ozone layer as compared to chlorofluorocarbon. Now next is halogens. These are halocarbon gases which are originally developed for use in fire extinguisher. So production and consumption of halogens ended in 1994 in developed countries. Now comes the Vienna Convention for the protection of the ozone layer. So this was agreed in 1985 to establish global monitoring and reporting on ozone depletion and created a framework for the development of protocols for taking more binding action on this. Now comes the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. So under the Vienna Convention, this was agreed in 1987. So it facilitates global cooperation in reversing the rapid decline in atmospheric concentration of the ozone. So protocol countries agreed to phase out the production and consumption of certain chemicals that is depleting the ozone. So the Vienna Convention and Montreal Protocol are the first and only global environmental treaties which achieve universal ratification with 197 parties. So, as a result of this international agreement, the ozone hole in Antarctica is slowly recovering. So, climate projection indicate the ozone layer will be returned to 1980 levels between 2050 and 2070. Now comes the Kigali Amendment to Montreal Protocol 2016. Kigali is the capital city of Rwanda. So, 28th meeting of the parties in 2016 to the Montreal Protocol, negotiators from 197 nations signed an agreement to amend the Montreal Protocol in Kigali. Okay, so the parties are expected to reduce the manufacture and use of hydrochlorofluorocarbon by roughly 80 to 85% from their respective baselines till 2045. So phase down is expected to arrest the global average temperatures to rise up to 0.5 degrees Celsius by 2100. Okay, it is a legally binding agreement between the signatory parties with non-compliance measures. So it is came into effect from 1st January 2019. Now what is the India's position? So India agreed on lenient schedule as it consumes only 3% of hydrofluorocarbon as compared to the other nation like USA consumed 37% and China consumed 25%. Hydrofluorocarbon, okay, that is used since an alternative of chlorofluorocarbon and hydrochlorofluorocarbon. Okay, so hydrofluorocarbon do not contribute to the ozone depletion, so they are the potent greenhouse gases with high global warming potential. Now you can see the history of fluorochemicals. In 1930, Freon CFC developed, making widespread use of refrigerators and air conditioner possible. Also serve as a propellants in aerosol spray. In 1970, HFCs identified as a replacement of CFCs. In 1987, Montreal Protocol came. So in 1990, addressed ozone depletion with the development of non-CFC refrigerants, that is SUVA, and propellants, that is diamel. In 1995, produced last CFCs in developed country. So in 1997, Kyoto Protocol came. 2005, ISCON HFC launched as a near drop-in replacement of HFC refrigerators. Okay, 2011, breakthrough HFO chemistry loads to opium for use in mobile and stationary refrigeration. 2014, Option 1100 low GWP foam blowing agent developed. 2016, Kigali agreement has been signed. So you can see all this in diagram. Now comes HF4 alternatives to HFCs. HF stands for hydrofluoroolefin, which is composed of hydrogen, fluorine and carbon atoms, which contain at least one double bond between the carbon atoms. So what are the advantages of HFCs? Fluorochemical CFS, ozone depleting potential, that is high here, global warming potential high. HCFCs, ozone depleting potential low, global warming potential high. HFCs, zero ozone depleting potential, high global warming potential. HFOs, zero ozone depleting potential, very low global warming potential. Now there are some substance rules related to ozone depleting. So it is framed under the jurisdiction of Environment Protection Act. So these rules set the deadlines for phasing out of various ODS. Besides regulating production, trade, import and export of ODS and the product containing ODS, that is ozone depleting substances. So These rules also prohibit the use of CFCs in manufacturing various products beyond 1st January 2003 except in meter dose inhaler and for other medical purposes. So use of halon is prohibited after 1st January 2001 except for the essential use. So ozone depleting substance such as carbon tetrachloride and methyl chloroform and CFC for meter dose inhalers is used up to 1st January 2010. So the use of methyl bromide has been allowed up to 1st January 2015. So HCFCs are used as an interim substitute to replace CFC and allowed up to 1st January 2040. Now comes a question from UPSC 2012. Consider the following statement. Chlorofluorocarbon known as a ozone depleting substances are used in the production of plastic foams, in the production of tubeless tires, in cleaning certain electronic components as pressurizing agent in aerosol cans. So which of the statement given above are correct? 1, 2, 3, 4 only, 1, 3, 4 only, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so please write the answer in the comment box. So the answer is G, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So chlorofluorocarbon known as ozone depleting substances are used in the production of plastic foams, used in the production of tubeless tires, in cleaning certain electronic components as pressurizing agent in aerosol cans. So hope you understood this lecture. Thank you.